Tidak bisa masuk ke dalam. Ini sampai di sini saja. Mau kau ambil ini kursinya. Sini mau kau lihat. Iya. Karena kan nanti akan menunggu juga tuh. Oh, di balik. Iya. Baru mau dikasih tahu untuk turun. nanti pukul itu kalau
Dear ladies and gentlemen, we would like to say welcome to Her Excellencies Ambassador of Canada to Indonesia and Timor-Leste, Her Excellencies Nadia Burger. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning, everybody. Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Canada to Indonesia, Nadia Burger, along with the ranks. Respectable Director of Universitas Hasanuddin, Profesor Dr. Insinyur Jamaluddin Jompa, MSc. Honorable University Bureaucrats and Leadership of Universitas Hasanuddin. Honorable Academic Community of Universitas Hasanuddin, Honorable Canadian Alumni, Honorable all the students or participants, and of course, all the invited guests. First of all, let's praise our God, Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, the creator, and the sustainer of the universe. Peace be upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the last messenger of Allah who has guided human life from the distraction into the right way. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aulisani Anissa, and it is an awesome and precious chance for me to be your master of ceremony in this afternoon on Thursday, 1st of December 2022, in our big event, General Lecture, Canada Today, Population and its Future, by the Ambassador of Canada to Indonesia. Please give applause. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, before we start our agenda for today, there will be singing national anthem Indonesia Raya. The audiences, please stand. have a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, step onto the following agenda. Welcoming speech by Rector of Universitas Hasanuddin, Profesor Dr. Insinyur Jamaluddin Jompa, MSc. Please, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Tes 1. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Good morning. Jam berapa sekarang? Okay. Very good day, everybody. Our Excellency, the Ambassador of Canada. I will call you this time Ibu Nadia, so become more friendly. And you can call me JJ. And Pak Kevin and all the delegation from Canada. Yang terhormat Bapak Ibu pimpinan Majelis Wali Amanat, our university board also here, the head and the member of academic senate, UNHAS leaders, deans, and especially our Hasanuddin University students. Give applause for our students here. Sorry that Ibu Nadia, many students would like to join, but because the rooms are limited, because this is one of the most important room at the university. We call it, this is a senate room. And I really want you to be given opportunity, these rooms, not the other rooms. Maybe this is also partly because you need to be proud that one of the president, for the first time, I think, at UNHAS, the alumni from Canada. Tepuk tangan dulu buat ini. Let me go first with my own personal impression. Bapak Ibu, Canada is one of the country that when I was about to go to Canada, I was a bit scared because I thought, oh, this must be very cold, and I'm not sure what kind of people in Canada. So I was a bit scared at that time before I went there. But only about 1 month when I stayed there, and I always say, thanks God, you took me to the right place. The first impression is the people of Canada are very, very, very friendly. Yeah. So, of course, the weather is not as nice as you imagine, but for us, it's a different. You got so much summer here, sometimes too hot. But in Canada, you got everything from summer to winters. And I arrived during one of the worst winter in 40 years, so I thought very scary to see, is this still part of the earth? Because everything white, semua putih, yeah. The roof, the street, the car, everything's white. And I was a bit scared, but eventually I enjoy skiing. So, Ibu Nadia, Pak Kevin, and all, welcome to our university, Hasanuddin University, which situated or placed in the center of Indonesia, actually. But at the same time, this is the gate for Eastern Indonesia. So I think it is a privilege to know that after Jakarta and Bali for G20, your first visit actually to Makassar, right? Tepuk tangan buat Ibu Nadia. I would like to feel, you don't need to correct me, that you came here because you also proud that your alumni actually becoming the president of Hasanuddin University. But anyway, we so happy, we are so glad to have you here, Bu Nadia and all, because we would like to make sure that our university is becoming a global university. We would like to have as much as links as possible to the globals, to the different part of the world. And of course, Canada, one of the country that I know very potential for developing science, technology, and all other businesses. So that I do hope that maybe after your visit, the spirit of college, many of them here from deans, let's put Canada in our list. Yeah. I know most of them put US, Japan, Australia, but from now on, hopefully you can convince them, please go to Canada, and from next year on, we also put Canada in our list. Yeah. And I encourage you to come during the winter, because this is the only time you can enjoy or feel how difficult to live during the winter, but still enjoyable. Of course, you need to be prepared, and don't worry. The people in Canada sometimes during the minus 10 degrees, they're still using the same clothes that you're wearing. But for Indonesia, Ibu Nadia, it's so scary. Before I went there, when people say minus 20, I said, wait a minute, what's the temperature of the freezer? And the freezer was only minus 10. And I put my head onto the freezer and said, there's no way I can live in Canada. But that's not as scary as that. There is a way of surviving in Canada, and I think that's why Canadian people is so innovative, so creative, because they need to survive during this very challenging weather. And I think the energy, especially during this climate change, I think Canada is one of the countries that using a lot of power from hydro, and that's why I was so confused. In my English dictionary, electricity really doesn't mean hydro, but the Canadian people call it hydro, because the source of electricity may be coming from the hydro. Is that from Niagara Falls and around, or many other sources? Bagi yang belum pernah ke Niagara Falls, it is part of the U.S. administratively, but you need to go to Canada to enjoy Niagara Falls, not in the U.S. Because the U.S. people need to actually go to Canada to enjoy Niagara Falls. Karena kita nggak bisa melihat Niagara Falls itu dari tempat jatuhnya air, ibaratnya di sini ini air, ini Amerika. Tapi kan kita nggak bisa menikmati air terjun ini dari Amerika. Karena kenapa? Ini perbatasan ini. Jadi orang harus pergi ke Kanada untuk menikmati Niagara Falls. I think I'm helping you promoting Canada. I'm trying to convince people to go to Niagara Falls, partly because when I was in Canada, I lived in Hamilton. So all my friends actually who wanted to go to Canada, to Niagara Falls, finally called me, can you bring me there? So I becoming a kind of tour guide for 4 times. So I do remember some of the place need to be explained. It was very cheap tour guide. They just need to treat me, buy some food and bus ticket. Because I was still student at that time. But I think Bapak Ibu teman-teman anak-anakku sekalian, ini adalah negara yang sangat kaya, sangat indah, dan orangnya sangat baik, sehingga di hati kalian jangan pernah takut. One more thing before I end up this my welcome remarks. I had a promise, quite a strange promise when I was in a junior high school, because my parents told me to stop going to university because we didn't have money. But I promised at the time, if I went through this difficult time and I had a chance to go overseas, I want to go as far as possible from Indonesia. And I don't know where is that place. So once I becoming a lecturer, I thought, this is the time to achieve my dream. So I went to see the map. Okay, I think if we go to find a place that the fooders from Makassar, actually not to the US, but to Canada. And that's why, although I'm actually a physicist, I actually took coral reef at that time. And I know there is no coral reef in Canada. But there was a professor in Canada who had a project at that time, so that I can still did my research in Indonesia, but I went to Canada for study the what we call the I use the fossils to understand the modern reefs, which is very nice approach. Yeah. So Bapak Ibu, teman-teman, saudara-saudara, mungkin hari ini adalah hari yang berbahagia buat saya, bukan hanya karena saya alumni Kanada, tapi Kanada adalah satu negara yang barangkali sudah waktunya kita lirik juga ya, karena this is testing ya. Untuk mudah-mudahan kelak ya kita bisa memperbaiki jaringan di sana, dan pemerintah Indonesia juga memberi peluang melalui LPDP to find the best university in the world, and many best university in the world in a specific field actually also in Canada. I think that's all, Ibu Nadia. Again, thanks for your visit, and I promise to visit you back in Jakarta, or at least maybe find the time to go to Canada with my delegation, at least maybe to some university. And with that, I would like to close this remark by saying Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Lebih kurangnya mohon maaf. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the welcoming speech. And now, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, now we will start our session on general lecture, Canada Today, Population and Its Future, by Her Excellency Ambassador of Canada to Indonesia, Ms. Nadia Burger. We would like to invite on stage the moderator, Mr. Insinyur Emrial Idrus MSc, PhD, the head of Study Center of Climate Change, and also the Canadian alumni. Please, sir, you might take the floor.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Rektor, for the welcoming remark to the honored guests, the Board of Trustees, the Senat body of University, and all the executives member of the university. It is a great honor for Hasanuddin University this morning to host Her Excellency Madam Ambassador Nadia Burger. She is the ambassador for Indonesia and Timor-Leste from Canada. And this morning, it is a great honor for us to be able to going to hear her general lecture about Canada, and certainly how it is related to Indonesia. As you all know, Canada has been a long-time friend of Indonesia, and we have worked together in many fields, from environment and also industry, trade, and not to mention about the human development. Many of the Canadian graduates eventually becoming the president of the university where they teach, including our rector now, and also in several EIN, or now called UIN. Hopefully, one of the rector from UIN, Professor Hamdan Johannes, will be able to join us also later, because we invite him a special invitation for Professor Hamdan Johannes, but he said he will be late. Before delivering her general lecture, allow me to read part of biodata from Her Excellency, Madam Ambassador. So, Her Excellency, Madam Ambassador Nadia Burger, or probably will be fondly called as Ibu Nadia. Yes. She did her BA honorary in political science at McGill University in 1994, which is the same year where Pak Rektor and myself also being in Canada. Pak Rektor in Canada in 1993, right? 1994 to 1996, yes. And I was from 1993 to 1996 also. So I'm longer 1 year. I like Canada so much that I stayed for my master's degree for 3 years. She then did her DES in International Relations, Graduate Institute of International Study in Geneva in 1996. She then joined the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade in 1998. And in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, among other assignments, she served as a policy advisor to the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and as Deputy Director of the China and Mongolia Division. In 2007, she was appointed Director of Cabinet and Parliamentary Affairs and subsequently served as Director of Southeast Asia and Oceania Relations. She then became the Director of Defense and Security Relations and Director of European Union and European Free Trade Association Commercial Relations. Overseas, which means outside of Canada, she was posted to the embassy in France in 1999 as part of the Moncton Francophonie Summit preparation, and to the embassy in China in 2002. In 2017, she became minister and deputy head of mission at the embassy in Japan. With that long experience, I think Indonesia is very much, we are very lucky to have her as our ambassador from Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Her Excellency, Madam Ambassador Ibu Nadia, to take the stage to deliver her general lecture. And may I invite you to give a warm welcome to Ibu Nadia.
This is good. Terima kasih. So, Bapak Rektor, I should say JJ, I want to say thank you for such a warm introduction, including, of course, from your colleague, because I really feel that you both are Canadian ambassador to Indonesia too, because you did such a great job to talk about Canada and the wonderful experiences that you've had there. And I'm sorry you couldn't meet when we were all there together at the same time, and so glad that a number of years later we have that opportunity. So, para pimpinan dan dosen saya yang hormati, para mahasiswa yang saya sayangi, Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Selamat siang, bonjour. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here in Makassar, and it's such an honor to come to your university and spend some time with you this morning. And I want to thank you for your very warm welcome to myself and my colleagues also from the embassy who are here today. And hearing JJ talk about Canada made me think that it is true that, especially on the east coast of Canada, it is cold in the winter and it does last for a long time. But we always say that in Canada, in the winter, our hands are cold, but our hearts are warm. And I certainly felt that from you during your commentaries on your experiences in Canada. So I feel you've become a little bit Canadian also in some ways. Yes. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. Oh, great. Also, I'm alumni from McGill also. So. Okay. In what field? Oh, that's great. So right across from the political science department where I was studying right around the same period. Yeah. Oh, interesting. So we'll have to chat about that after. I want to hear your views. But this year really is a very special year for Canada and Indonesia because we celebrate the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations. So it's a real honor to be here and talk about Canada and Indonesia today. And what I want to do today, and if we can show the first slide on the screen, I want to talk to you about Canada, its people, and our outlook on the future. So, okay, that's great, thank you. So we'll move to the first slide, please, thank you. So we already have a feeling of Canada for those who haven't been there yet, but I think I always think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So this tells you a little bit about Canada from a visual point of view. And I want to spend a bit of time to explain Canada, Canadians, and how we see things and why we see things the way we do. And while we may be thousands of kilometers apart, there's many things we have in common, actually. So I want to talk about that first. And obviously one thing we have in common is a very long coastline. Again, Indonesia has a very long coastline. Canada also does. And we have 3 maritime access on 3 oceans. And we actually have the longest coastline in the world, but we share that in similarities. Number 2, exactly. That's right. And of course, like Indonesia, we have a very diverse geography. You can grow up in Canada, if you live, for example, in Saskatchewan or Alberta, you can grow up in open prairies and dominated by wheat fields and cattle ranches and of course grain farms. So that's some Canadians grew up, of course, in those areas, but there's also Canadians who grow up in more cooler and temperate climates on the Pacific coast with a different environment. But most Canadians live in modern cities and of at least 1 million people. So my hometown, Montreal, is a little bit bigger, slightly bigger than Makassar, but I come from a big city, and my colleagues also, most of my colleagues anyway at the embassy also come from a big city. And we have also not only diverse geography, but diverse population, as I mentioned. So I'm from Montreal. When I grew up in a French-speaking family. And in my neighborhood, they were mostly only French-speaking neighbors, and I went to French school. So I really only learned English really at the proficiency level when I went to McGill. So that was to me very important. I wanted to do international relations, and I realized if I don't speak English, my career will be stopped short very quickly. So this is just an example to show the diversity of Canada, and certainly my experience has been very positive. And in addition to geography, people, diversity, we also share, of course, values with Indonesia. And how we see the world is sometimes very much aligned. So I think in Indonesia it's Bhinneka Tunggal Ika. In Canada, we also have this concept of diversity and inclusion. We also share our dedication to democracy and our shared belief in the responsibility we have as citizens to guarantee and support that democracy. So we'll go to the next slide, please. So of course I'm at a university, I need to speak about the economy. That's always a very important topic. Our economy is the 9th largest in the world. We're a member of the G7 grouping. And we have free trade agreements with many countries. We believe in free trade as an important vehicle for our economic growth. So we have free trade agreements with the US, with Mexico, EU, South Korea, and we're also a member of the CPTPP. And currently we're negotiating a free trade agreement with Indonesia and also with ASEAN. So that's an important priority for us. But really a key partner economically for Canada is the United States. We actually share almost 9,000 kilometers of border with the US. And not many people know this, but every day the value of our trade with the US is $2 billion every day. And like Indonesia, Canada is rich in, of course, mineral resources and renewable and non-renewable natural resources. We are an exporter of oil, natural gas, and as I mentioned, a wide range of minerals. And we have an automotive manufacturing industry, which is actually integrated as part of a North American industry. But the major focus really today is transitioning to the production of electric vehicles, like in Indonesia also. And actually promoting the development and deployment of clean technologies is really central to Canada meeting our climate change goals, including net zero emission by 2050. Next slide, please. So this is a bit of a visual slide explaining really what the importance of being a trading nation means to Canada. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this slide is that really about a little bit over 60% of our economy is based on trade. So our GDP growth is very much relying on our ability to be a trading nation. So we very much value and support free trade and of course being part of the system, international trading system. Next slide. So this is, for those who like numbers, this is a slide that speaks to our increasing role as an exporter. Next slide. This slide lists some of Canada's trading partners, and it gives you a sense of the value of our trade. So this is not a list by priority. Our number one, of course, trading partner is the US, then China, then UK, and then Japan. But we've included some different countries there, so you have a sense of magnitude, and you can see Indonesia there also on this slide. Next slide. So I spoke about the bilateral trade agreement that we're negotiating with Indonesia, and it's called SEPA. So for those who like acronyms, this is one to remember, one you will hear if you study Canada-Indonesia relations or economic and trade issues. And negotiations are ongoing. We just finished the 3rd round, and we're progressing at a good pace. So that's an acronym to remember. Next slide. So, population of Canada, and you can see some of them are wearing winter clothing. Our population compared to Indonesia is much smaller. We're 39 million or so, but we continue to grow. And the interesting thing, one of the many interesting things about that is our population growth is also helped and partly due to immigration. And immigration is actually a source of skilled workers for Canada's economy. Over 400,000 people per year settle in Canada. And the next slide is basically to show the evolution of immigration in Canada. So some people may not know our birth rate is actually lower than that of other countries in the region. So the latest statistics I saw was 1.61 children per person. I still don't know how they get to the 0.61 when you talk about human beings, but the statistics don't lie. And actually, the rate we need to grow at to maintain current population level is 2.1. And that being said, we're growing rapidly despite this gap. And this is because, as I mentioned, of immigration. And right now, I mean, over the years, our history has evolved, of course, in terms of immigration source countries. But right now, what's interesting is the majority of immigrants to Canada come from Asia. And top source countries in Asia are the Philippines, India, China, Pakistan, and Korea. And we believe this is a very good thing. I need to find I don't have it on my sheet. I'll find it for you, JJ, and I'll make sure we give you that number. And maybe you can help contribute to the increase and encourage your student to come and study and stay in Canada. So the point in all of this is, as we truly believe that immigration brings such a richness and diversity of culture, of views, that makes us stronger as a country, not just from an economic point of view, but from a human and cultural point of view. Next slide, please. So more on population. We spoke about the number of Canadians, but I also want to speak about immigration, of course, as a source of economic prosperity, but so is, in our view, gender equality. And there's a lot of studies that have been done in Canada recently to talk about the business benefit of having an approach favoring gender diversity at the workplace. And I've put some numbers here to give you a sense of, in Canada, what's the impact of us, both from a government and corporate point of view, private businesses, when they adopt gender equality, gender diverse approaches, there's actually tangible benefits, economic benefits that they can draw from these approaches. But beyond that, we also think this is the right thing to do. Next slide. So the slide is black now, but I have a video to show you in a second, and it's really about education in Canada. Education, of course, underpins Canadian society, and as I mentioned before, we've warmly welcomed students from other countries, from Indonesia, to come and study in Canada. As you will have heard.
So, you're looking to study abroad?
We'll watch
and you want to go to a country
okay.
that will offer a wide variety of experiences and exciting work opportunities? Well, Canada might just be the perfect fit for you. With breathtaking landscapes, vibrant cities, and lively cultures, Canadians enjoy a quality of life that is one of the best in the world. We are renowned for our competitive and entrepreneurial economy. Our society is safe and multicultural, which makes Canada the perfect study destination, no matter who you are or where you're from. Plus, we have one of the best education systems in the world. Did you know that 10% of Canadian universities rank in the top 200 best universities worldwide? And since our institutions are publicly funded, high-quality education is consistent across the country. Canada offers more than 15,000 undergraduate and graduate degree programs across the country, and over 8,000 college diplomas, postgraduate certificates, or applied degrees. If you want to hit the labor market quickly, you'll also find a wide range of hands-on programs that will help you do just that. Not sure about your career path? Our Canadian education institutions make it easy for students to switch between study programs. To top that, Canada offers unmatched working opportunities. While many study destinations don't allow international students to work during their studies, in Canada, you can work off campus for up to 20 hours per week and full-time during school breaks. Looking to stay in Canada after your studies? You should know that Canada provides a variety of work permits and immigration programs only available to international graduates, making it easier for you to work and stay in Canada after graduation. Now you're telling me, that's awesome, but how can I find the right education institution for me? It's simple. Just visit educanada.ca and browse the list of college and university programs to find the program that's right for you. A bright future is at your fingertips. Come study in Canada. A world of possibilities awaits.
Thank you. So in terms of education, you saw our pitch and you saw what we think we can offer in the video, but really in a nutshell, in summary, we offer world-class education, as you will have heard from your rector and the vice rectors here today, including master's, PhD programs and affordable prices in a safe environment. And of course, we very much value and promote innovation as we discuss, including in the field of the environment, climate change. These are important emerging sectors. So maybe we'll go to the next slide. And that if you have any questions, this is the website that you can look at to answer your questions, educanada.ca. And I believe there's also an Instagram page on this. Thank you, Novi. So, and if you have any questions, of course, come to the embassy. We have lots of information. And JJ and I discussed right before this presentation how we can grow together the relationship between Indonesian and Canadian universities, including here. So we'll be doing some follow-ups, of course, in that regard. So next slide. I wanted to just touch on two last things before we open it up for questions. The first one is a very significant policy announcement that was done by the Canadian government over the last few days. On November 27th, the Canadian government and our Minister of Foreign Affairs announced Canada's new Indo-Pacific strategy. And people ask me, what does that mean? It means, in the case of the region and Indonesia, it means that we very much value Indonesia's partnership. Indonesia is an important country for us, and that we want to engage more and engage more over time. And in a wide range of area, really. And I'll just touch base quickly on that. So our strategy is rooted in a commitment to really strengthening diversifying our relationship and our engagement in Indonesia and elsewhere in the region, and also in ASEAN. And our strategy, of course, builds on our investment and engagement already. And in all sectors, security, trade, people to people, and development. And this really makes sense given what I've mentioned before. Canada is a Pacific country. And of course, I mentioned our Pacific border, but it's more than that. Half of new Canadians come from the region. And of course, we very much want and recognize the value of our linkages. So our strategy reflects this with commitments focusing on 5 areas, and I've mentioned them here on the slide. You can read them, but they relate to peace and security, trade and investment, investing and connecting people, building a sustainable and green future, and really being an active and engaged partner. Next slide and final comment I would like to make. Of course, I need to talk about Canada-Indonesia relations. That's the most important topic, I think. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But this is a real short snapshot on the value and the importance of our relationship. Canada very much values its relationship with Indonesia, as I mentioned. We celebrate this year 70 years of diplomatic relations. And we really recognize why Indonesia is important. Obviously, Indonesia is the cornerstone of Southeast Asia and at the crossroad of the Indian and Pacific Oceans. And there's so many opportunities for us here in a range of different sectors. I just talking about the trade and economic relationship. We can talk about it for hours, but for example, Canada is very much engaged with Indonesia, including as a reliable supplier of food like wheat for your Indomie, and technology and financial services like Sun Life, Manulife, that well-known Canadian companies here in Indonesia. But there's so many others. I'm just mentioning them. Circle K also, and there's many faces of Canada that you see every day in Indonesia. And of course, there's so many other areas we want to work closer together. And we have a number of frameworks to do that. So I mentioned the Indo-Pacific strategy, but there's also a plan of action that both our foreign ministers signed earlier this year. And of course, at the core of all these governance framework, we have people to people and exchanges and discussion and engagement between education institutions is very important for us. And so our relationship is strong and growing, but my message is that there's much more we can do to achieve and reach our full potential. And that's my #1 job, and that's why also I'm here today. So I hope we can work on this together, me and all of you, to continue to make this next 70 years of diplomatic relations as successful as we can and as successful as the first. So thank you. Terima kasih. Merci.
Thank you very much, Her Excellency, Madam Ambassador Nadia Burger, or fondly called as Ibu Nadia. And also warm welcome to the Rector of UIN, Prof. Hamdan Juhanis, another graduates from McGill who managed to become the president of the university. And an interesting story about Prof. Hamdan is that he shared apartment with another two guys, and lo and behold, right now, the three of them becoming the rector or the president of the institute in their own institute. So, paham that. Apartemen itu pasti punya malaikat. Another similarity that probably was not mentioned is that our flags. We share the same colors. The only difference with Indonesian is that you have the maple leaf, which is one of the very character of Canada. And also, actually, in addition to wheat that become Indomie, people here are very fond of some of very famous Canadians, like Celine Dion. Everyone here knows Celine Dion. Some of them knows Bryan Adams. Yeah, Bryan Adams, also a Canadian. And those that are younger certainly knows Justin Bieber. The naughty boy from Canada. All right. I'm going to open the session for some discussion. Her Excellency are willing to respond to some of your questions. So let's have some questions so that you will know more and know better about Canada. Okay, I saw some hands, one from there, and a lady, our student, yeah? Yeah, good. From this, the one at the front, and that one over there. Okay, one at the back. Empat dulu ya. For the first session, and if we see later, if we have enough time, I will open another session. Okay, let's start from there. Mahasiswa ya. Looks like all of the person who posed question this morning will be mostly students. Silakan perkenalkan namanya, Dek. Tolong mic-nya.
Tes. Okay. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to ask my question and my opinion. But before that, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Farhan Rahman. I'm one of the international relations student of Hasanuddin University of Makassar. For my question is there any corporation or plan between Indonesia and Canada to improve the quality of the people? For example, we can learn so much about gender equality from Canada, because what I heard, the gender equality is one of the steps to build the better economy for us and Canada. And second question is, and I'm looking forward to exchange mind between international relations student from University of Hasanuddin and international relations student from Canada. I think that will be interesting to share our mind and thought about gender equality or economic matter. Thank you.
Farhan Rahman, angkatan berapa? 2019 undergraduate. Next, a lady student.
Okay, check. Okay, thank you very much. Well, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Liza, and I am the International Relations student 2021. And okay, so the question is, since we're talking about that this is the 70th years of the relation between Indonesia and Canada in diplomacy, means that you've been already in Indonesia before Timor-Leste stand and being independent. So the question is Canada have the political interest to put the embassy together in Indonesia and Timor-Leste? Is it any political interest on it to protect maybe the security or any other things that we don't know? Maybe you can answer that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Very well posed. Next, Bapak yang di depan.
Okay, Bismillah. Thank you very much. I am Abdul Razak Cangara. I'm a lecturer in International Relations Department. I have actually several things to comment and also to ask. One is about the technical issues related possible cooperation between our university, and then the second one is about something substantial towards international affairs of Canada and Indonesia. Okay, first of all, beside the lecturing work that I do in my department, I also a management team of international class program, because our university has several international class program, including in our department. And then the last 6 months, we have concluded cooperation double degree program with the Queensland University in Australia. So our students could earn a bachelor, not just in the University of Hasanuddin, but also in the Queensland University. So there are 2 degrees that could be, to get after finishing the study. So in this regard, I would like to to ask about the possible cooperation on behalf of my boss, my head of department, and of course on behalf of my rector, which is in here, from JJ. And then because even though in the website that you have shown today, Mrs. Ambassador, we can search through that, but it would be very helpful for us to to enhance cooperation, you-to-you cooperation, departmental cooperation, if there is a kind of possible facilitation from Mrs. Ambassador, because I think this is a very a golden chance for our department, because in front of us is about a very high-ranking officials from Canada coming to represent Canada in Indonesia. So perhaps maybe after the general lecture today, we can meet and also to discuss. Maybe you can, to show us several possible options in Canada to have a possible double degree cooperation. That's about the technical issues. The other one is about related to international affairs, because as you know today, as you have tell us about the Indo-Pacific and how Canada should position itself in Indo-Pacific geographical and geoeconomic and geopolitical context, and that's why it is very important, because there's a possible polarity. As we know today, the conception of Indo-Pacific is still under discourse. So Japan, US try to to interpret how should the Indo-Pacific context should be carried out. It is also Australia's interest to talk about Indo-Pacific on how to balance between China and also US relations, because China is also a major economic partner of Australia, but still America is very important in political and security terms. And in this regard, I want to ask about how should Canada position itself in terms of geopolitical, geoeconomic, and geostrategic relations of Indo-Pacific, in regards on how it should proceed Indonesia towards Canada foreign policy in this case. So I think that's all about my comment and question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Razak. Pak Razak is representing among our junior lecturer, and all of our junior lecturers can speak English fluently, just like Pak Razak.
Thank you.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, I will move to the question number 4 over there. Yeah. Okay, one of our students.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Nal and I'm international relations student, class of 2022. So for years, Canada has been talking about environmental policies and how important it is to not just Canada, but the world. But for years, Canada and Justin Trudeau has been pushing for a lot of pipeline projects, especially the Keystone XL projects. And yes, it was cancelled, but it was Biden's decision to refuse the work permit. So what does that say, the interest to build pipelines, to Canada's international commitment to the Paris Agreement, and also to the promises that Justin Trudeau and his government make to the people of Canada? Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't get your name the first time. Your name is?
My name is Niall.
Niall.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Very interesting questions. I would like to invite more students to ask questions, especially if it's not from international relation. We already have 1, 2, 3, 4. Three students from international relation. Anyone not from international relation that would like to pose question? From all right. One question from UIN. Yes. International religion.
International, yeah, international religion. Yeah. I am from a university under the Ministry of Religious Affairs.
Okay.
An affair which is religious. Yeah. Thank you, Madam Ambassador. I want to tell you that I really miss Canada. I really love Canada. But only 2 things I really hate about Canada. Yeah, I hate about Canada. The first one, the Prime Minister is too handsome. Yeah. Perdana Menteri Kanada itu terlalu gagah gitu. Kita laki-laki sangat benci itu. And the second one, in the winter season is very cold. It's very good. Mr. Rector, yeah, it's extremely cold. Yeah, even in Montreal, I experienced minus 31. Yeah, in 1997 to 1999, I was there. There are 3 that I hate actually. Yeah, Miss Ambassador shouldn't be at this university actually. Yeah, should have been in my university. Yeah. Why I said that? Because our university, State Islamic University, Alauddin Makassar, had a very historical and monumental relation and collaboration with Canadian side. The Ministry of Religious Affairs have a long collaboration with Canadian International Development Agency. Maybe SIDA and the Department of Religious Affairs. We call it MORA. Maybe Ms. Ambassador remember we had a program called LLD program. Or in Indonesia we call it SILE, Supporting Islamic Leadership in Indonesia. It took for 6 years. And then it was about improving our university's community partnership. Yeah, clean and good governance with community partnership programs. And we produce there are a couple of our scientific products. For example, we call it community-based research, CBR. I think Hasanuddin University still don't have that kind of product. We also have, I'm sorry, I'm kidding. Yeah. We also have ABCD, asset-based community development. Yeah, it is something like participatory action research. And we also have service learning. My point to Madam Ambassador that I took this opportunity is that maybe we can think about the continuation of this kind of the program from the Canadian government. And especially we can continue to have and to invest improving our community partnership, supporting Islamic leadership in Indonesia. And we think about making innovation. For example, we can do it with different parties. For example, UIN Alauddin, Hasanuddin University, and the Canadian government. So from the Islamic and religious perspectives, UIN Alauddin can participate, and from public and general issues, Hasanuddin University can participate. So if you don't mind, maybe if you are back to Jakarta, you can open back the papers of our historical collaboration that we call local leadership development. The Canadian government call it local leadership development. But in Indonesian side, we call it supporting Islamic leadership in Indonesia. So if you think about it, and maybe hopefully next time you can come to Makassar, and you don't have to come to Hasanuddin University, but directly come to our university, State Islamic University Alauddin. And we have almost 100 alumni. Yeah, and went to Canada, traveled to Canada for learning and studying about community development. So I promise, if you come back here, if you visit our university, I will invite them and to discuss with you. And of course, I will invite also the rector of Hasanuddin University, my best friend. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Hamdan. Prof. Hamdan, probably one of the reason we should ask Madam Ambassador, but probably one of the reason why Bu Nadia come to Hasanuddin University is because the rector of Hasanuddin University is more handsome. Okay, I would like to invite a couple more questions by women, by lady. If it's possible, not from HI, but you're from HI. Okay, anyway, boleh. Yang baju ungu. One more lady. Okay, are you from HI also? Okay then. Okay, from HI. Ya. Yang baju hitam sebentar, setelah yang baju ungu. Silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, the Honorable. My name is Ginaya Fajrianto. I'm from Hasanuddin University, majoring in international relations. So as we know that you are an extraordinary ambassador, and I really would like to know how can I be like you? And I would like to know your secret. How do you do negotiation with other countries? And also, if Indonesia and Canada were not get along together, so how would you prevent that? How do you do that? How would you fix that? And how would you keep our relationship between Canada and Indonesia? I really would like to know that. So thank you very much for coming here, and we really welcome you here. And you're so beautiful. Maybe that's all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ginaya, for being very honest. Okay, next, our student, yeah. Silakan.
Check. Okay, thank you. First of all, I appreciate for Ibu Nadia for her very broad explanation about Canada. And thank you for coming to our campus, Hasanuddin University. My name is Anggun. I'm also from International Relations. According to what you had explained before about Canada's economic is on the rank 9 in the world, I want to know how refugees are taken care in your country, and is there any special qualification should they have to become refugees in Canada? And is there any cooperation between Canada and Indonesia if maybe there is an overpopulation refugees in one of the countries? Okay. And also about the zero emission, because I'm quite interested in environmental issues. I want to know what regulations in Canada that have been made for this purpose, zero emission, and are there any provisions or penalty for individuals or groups who carry out excessive air pollution, for example, illegal forest burning? And maybe this question is not only to Ibu Nadia, but also Bapak Rektor dan Bapak Moderator. Can you give us one advice for us that want to study abroad, especially in Canada? Just one advice. And one more, this is not an academic question, but I want to know as an Indonesia, what food do you like the most, Bu Nadia, while you in Indonesia? And if we go to Canada, what food would you suggest for us to eat there for the first time we arrived there? Thank you.
Thank you, Anggun. The question for moderator, I will respond right away. Bring lots of warm clothes. I would like to invite, if it's possible, one more question from students outside of HI. 5 students already asked questions, and they are all from international relations. Anyone from outside of this international relation, different project? Okay, that's good. One question. Bukan, persyaratannya bukan HI.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. So I from postgraduate student in sociology. I will give a question about how the Canadian government provide a solution to the problem of low birth rates.
Low birth rates?
Low birth rate.
Oh,
yes.
low birth rate.
Yeah, low birth
Okay.
rates. Okay, thank you.
Nama? Name?
Natalia, Pak.
Natalia. Okay, thank you, Natalia. Pak Rektor, you were going to give some comment? Oh, not yet. I thought you oh, okay.
Just asking, I'm just want to say that the reason why a lot of high students, because we give them a priority to
attend
for this time, because the seat is limited. So that's why. It's not because they are the only one who interested. A lot of them, maybe if we invited openly, maybe they will come as well. But maybe next time.
Oh, okay. Thank you. We do have actually different prodi here, right? Not only from international relations. Maybe some from pasca graduate students, ya? Ada graduate students yang lain? Boleh angkat tangan? Pasca? Oh enggak ya? Cuman satu? Oh berdua? Oh ya. Okay. And also our program is being broadcasted through our YouTube channel. Just in case I want to ask the technician, is there any question in YouTube channel? Because it has been broadcasted directly through our YouTube. Ada ya? Anda ada pertanyaan? Oh, okay. All right. So we have 7 questions, and all has been noted by Her Excellency, Madam Ambassador. So I would like to hand over the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Wow, that's an impressive set of questions, and I feel also very honored to be among international relations and political science students, myself being one of the same group. So I was thinking we could also talk about prisoner's dilemma and other issues like the realist school, but maybe we'll save that for the next visit. But really, I just find these your questions very enriching, and it's wonderful to be able to have those conversations. So in no particular order, I will answer the questions that were posed. So in terms of, why don't I start with environmental policy, because that's actually a very important question. And the Canadian government very much places a priority on meeting our climate change GHG reduction goals, and also to develop and implement clean technology, and also work with other countries in the same regard. So we actually want to be a leader in zero emission and energy transition that needs to take place. So we have very much a clear path to get there. And of course, our goal is to achieve net zero by 2050. We also have a plan to reduce GHG emission by 40 to 45% by 2030. We also have a number of other commitments and regulation, but we really can't do this alone. We need to work with other countries in order to achieve global impact. So that's something we very much believe in. And it is, however, a challenge for every country. How do you move from using fossil fuel to clean energy, and how do we make sure we have the technology that's affordable? So that's a big priority for the Canadian government, and we'll continue to work very hard to achieve a reduction of GHG emission and find ways for us to have an effective energy transition for clean technology. In terms of low birth rate, the way we deal with that is through immigration, among other things. But immigration we see this as a very important benefit. If we have more immigrants, then we can sustain our economic growth. It's a really a win-win situation for us. And pretty much all Canadians agree, and we recognize the value and the benefits it brings to Canada. In terms of Timor-Leste and whether we have what our plans are in Timor-Leste, certainly Canada has been very supportive of Timor-Leste's democracy, and also in Indonesia. We've been there with Indonesia as Indonesia was fighting for its own democratic path. And we are engaged in Timor-Leste through our embassy in Jakarta. This is a very routine arrangement. We do that in a number of countries. We can't have embassies in every country. And the same thing for Indonesia. So that's how we cover. So we cover out of Jakarta, but we're still very committed to working with Timor-Leste to support them. In terms of gender equality, yes, please, let's do more together. This is a topic that's very dear to our Prime Minister's heart. He calls himself a feminist Prime Minister, and he's very much a strong advocate. And of course, the Canadian government policy is also to support gender equality, as I mentioned, because we see this as bringing us a lot of benefits. We make better decisions in Canada when we have decision-making bodies that have a diversity of views, including gender equal bodies. So if you have suggestions, we'd be happy to talk on how to do that and discuss what would be a good arrangement. On technical cooperation with universities, actually, JJ and I spent quite a bit of time talking about how can we grow the relationship between our institutions, both institutions in Canada and, of course, Indonesia. And there's a few ideas we came up with, so we'll be following up on that. And certainly, the embassy also has a number of officials who are specializing in giving advice on Canadian education. So if there's questions that are not covered by the material we've presented, please let us know. And we will be happy to connect you with somebody at the MSc who can follow up. In terms of best food, so that's an important issue. I like my food also. I think people in Indonesia enjoy also having good food. And I have to say my favorite and what I've really been so delighted to discover is the variety and the diversity in sambal. There's so many different types, and it was quite a surprise. Yes, and there's a different one with fresh chili, cooked chili, and it's just wonderful to experience all of this, and it's a delight, really. So that would be on my list of things to continue to explore, because I'm sure there's a lot more varieties that I haven't tried yet. If you come to Canada, there's so many food that I would recommend you eat. And of course, colleagues in the room can also give you some advice. But I really love, in the summer, in August, in Eastern Canada, I love to have fresh lobster with corn, a large sweet corn on the cob with a little bit of butter and salt, and to have for dessert fresh nectarines from Canada, from Ontario, or we also have very good fruit in BC, in the Okanagan Valley. Or you can have wild strawberry and wild blueberries, and they're just very delicious. So please do come and try our food if you have a chance. In terms of the Indo-Pacific idea, and the geopolitical aspects of this, I think on this, I would just say, I think at this point in time, Canada really recognizes that the region is very important to us, to our interest, and that the Indo-Pacific region and Indonesia in it will be shaping Canada's future in terms of our economic engagement, our security engagement, our trading relationship. And we need to be more engaged and present. And to us, this comes through as being a reliable partner, as being more present. We've announced through the strategy $2.3 billion worth of initiatives over the next 5 years. And the strategy, of course, will continue beyond that. So that's our key interest, and we're really looking at supporting the rules-based international system also through this strategy. In terms of SIDA and MORA cooperation, I've heard lots of wonderful things about that, and I'm really happy that Liz, Kevin, and Novi from our embassy are working in the development section, previously known as SIDA also. So if you have any questions or follow-up, maybe I'll leave it to them to look into these aspects. And certainly we also have engagement with MORA, also in Jakarta. And certainly this is an important area where we can collaborate, and we have in the past, and we can of course continue to have conversation, and the exchange of views is really important. In terms of refugees, typically, yes, we welcome refugees in Canada. We have a specific system and in place for that as our immigration system, and depending on everybody's situation, there's different programs that are offered for them. Typically for refugees, it's UNHCR. That's the key vehicle for resettling refugees to a number of different countries. Questions on the last question was on about women leadership. I think this is sort of how I would frame it. You said, "How can I be more like you?" And it made me laugh because I think a lot of I think it's a very humbling question and a very kind question, but I really believe in the energy and the strength I get from all of you. And certainly I find as women, some women as we grow older, we're not always confident in our ability. And there's actually a lot of psychological studies that look at that women will doubt themselves more, question themselves. Am I ready to do this? Maybe I should wait. And so my advice would be find the courage and be yourself, and do something you love or you have a passion for. And if you do that, you'll be happy, and you can claim the space that that you deserve to take. So that would be what I would say about that. I think I've covered all the questions. Did I miss anything? You let me know.
All right. Just for information, also, out of 8 questions that we discussed this morning, 4 of them coming from ladies. So this is a very balanced question and answers. So Hasanuddin University can be recognized for it is a very balanced gender. Right? Yes. Thank you. Unfortunately, the time is catching up with us, so I'm not going to open another question and answer session. Anyway, we are very delighted and obligedly grateful for the opportunity to host you, Madam Ambassador, Ibu Nadia, to host you here at Unhas. It is a great honor for us to have the opportunity to discuss many things, especially our students already have the opportunity to have discussion with you. It is certainly a lifetime experience for them to be able to ask questions directly to Madam Ambassador. So I would like to invite you once more to give a warm applause to Madam Ambassador Ibu Nadia. With the end of this session, I would like to send back to the committee, and committee still have another part of this event. Silakan, Lisa.
Thank you very much, sir, for the moderator of the general lecture. And maybe the photographer, you might take the picture first before the moderator kindly return to the seat. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is exchange tokens of appreciation between Universitas Hasanuddin and the Canadian Embassy. So we would like to invite the rector of Universitas Hasanuddin to come on stage, and also for Miss Ambassador to come in front of the stage for the exchange of tokens of appreciation. Please give a round of applause. And next, otherwise from the Canadian Embassy to Universitas Hasanuddin. Please give a round of applause. And ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to do the photo session. And please stand in the, okay. From the seats. Just also, so the audience just stand up on the seats. But before that, we would like to do the photo session for the leadership. Okay. Please, can you turn? You might turn around, and the photographer will be on the stage. And for the participants, please stand up. Please move closer to the center. So the audience in the back, please move to the center, moving closer, and we would like to take a picture. Okay, another one. 3, 2, 1. Okay, another one. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you very much. You might return to seat. And ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the end of this event of General Lecture, Canada Today, Population and Its Future by the Ambassador of Canada to Indonesia. On behalf of the host and committee, we would like to extend once again our deepest appreciation to you all for your support in participation, and we wish you have a pleasant visit in Indonesia. Once again, thank you and good afternoon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.